Good morning, everyone. We'd like to open the service up with some fabulous music by Dalton Fitzgerald. Welcome, Dalton.
Good morning. I'd like to invite anybody who's able to please rise, stand on up, stretch yourselves out. The day of the Lord, when the divinity returns to us, when living our free will, and with all the power of our spirit, we decide to live our lives in free communion with God, with no expectations. We will live our lives with gratitude, love, loyalty, and justice, beginning with ourselves and continuing with our brothers and sisters. We will respect all creation as the symbol of our love, communion with the one who created us to the eternal happiness of humanity. Clap your hands. I'm choosing heaven today. I'm choosing heaven today. I am walking the road of heaven right now. Singing, I'm choosing heaven today. Sing along now. I'm choosing heaven today. I'm choosing heaven today. I am walking the road of heaven right now. Singing, I'm choosing heaven. I'm choosing love. I'm choosing love today. I'm choosing love today. I am walking the road of love right now. Singing, I choose love. I choose compassion. I choose compassion today. Let me hear you now. I choose compassion today. I am walking the road of compassion right now. Singing, I choose compassion. Heaven with me one more time. I'm choosing heaven today. Oh, I'm choosing heaven today. I am walking the road of heaven right now. Singing, I'm choosing heaven today. Yes, I am walking the road of heaven right now. Singing, I'm choosing heaven today.
Excellent, excellent. Well, welcome. I'm Dr. Mary Mitchell, staff minister here. Very excited to have you here today. It's a very special weekend, isn't it? Very special. And yet you're here. Why? Because you know we inspire and empower people to live spiritually fulfilling lives, and you're doing that today. Congratulations. We have a lot of classes I'll talk to you about in just a minute. All right, we're going to invite the children up, and Lindy's going to wave the camera around, so let's turn a wave to the world, wherever they're watching us from. Come on up, children, and we'll sing to you. In the face of God. Oh, it's catching. All right, that's wonderful. If you have any devices that may go off and disturb us during the service, we'd appreciate it if you would turn them off or down or on stun or something, whatever they call that. And if you're new with us today, we have a wonderful friendship packet for you, and our ushers would be happy to bring you one. Anyone new today? New today? No, all right. They are on the back wall in the blue folder if you would like to pick one up. All right, we have some focus announcements, and the first one is sad. Nancy Purnell has passed. Yeah, yesterday with her friends and family, Reverend Sue and Charlie were there. Lots of love in that room. Reverend Helen, the Buddhist nun, was there. It was a room full of love. We don't know when there'll be a celebration of life, but it'll be scheduled, and we'll be sure and let you know. She and Jim have been longtime members of the center and just such wonderful people. So she definitely has been missed when she's been sick, and she's more missed now, but we're sending her our love. Today is the first of 4 classes that Reverend Kat Cox, our featured speaker, will be giving after service. And the title is Conversations of Concern, Building Bridges. You'll explore how to take part in challenging conversations across differences in ways that honor the perspectives of all sides, strengthening trust, connection, and community. Sounds like a very appropriate thing to do during this time. Building bridges. Sharian Wyndham is giving 2 watercolor classes. The first one starts Wednesday, September 7th, 1 to 3:30, 6 weeks. They'll be using ink and pen and ink in colors to enhance contrast and texture. Now that sounds very interesting. So pre-registration is encouraged. And then on Monday, starting September 12th at 9:30 to noon, a 5-week session to learn the basics of the color wheel and how to mix colors. That's a basic class, and I remember it well. That was a real interesting experience. Reverend Sue is bringing Hatha Yoga back to the center Monday and Wednesday starting September 7th, 5:30 to 6:45 p.m. If you're not familiar with Hatha Yoga, it's a holistic yoga path that includes disciplines, postures, purification procedures, gestures, breathing, and meditation, and she's an expert at it, real expert at it. And then Reverend Sue's also going to bringing an advanced spiritual class on Wednesdays starting September 7th in the evening, 7 to 8:30, called The Message of Compassion and Kindness. And it's 6 weeks, and they'll be using Greg Brayton's book, Walking Between the Worlds. It's framing our conversations, again, communication and study, and the need for compassionate emotion to help shift our well-being in times like this. And then Thursday, September 8th, it's always second Thursday morning, 10 to noon, I'll be doing the Caregiver Support class. And it's a discussion, and we have a little workbook that we found that asks good questions, stimulates our discussion and understanding in helping one another be good caregivers. And I'll tell you, I can tell when I need to put that hat on at home. So this class is really wonderful, and we enjoy talking with each other and learning how each one deals with caregiving issues. Christy Carr. Christy, would you stand up? Christy's our newest practitioner. We'll be celebrating her soon, and she wants to teach, and she'll be a great teacher. And her first class is Meditation is More Than You Think, starting Thursday, September 8th, 6 to 8:30. And it's an introductory meditation course, and I've done it before, and it's fabulous because every week is different, a different type and style of meditation. Mantras, movement, sound, breathing, it's very, very interesting. So if you would like to learn more about that, you don't want to miss Christy's class. She'll do a great job. And then Friday, September 9th is one thing that I know a lot of you come to. It's the Spiritual Music Jam. And Friday, September 9th, 7 to 8:30, bring your instrument or be ready to clap your hands crazy because it fills the whole sanctuary with sound and vibration and open hearts. And Shirley Wade. Shirley, raise your hand or stand up. There she is. She'll be doing the Grace of Aging. Sound interesting to anybody here, aging? Yeah? Yeah, she and Reverend Sue, Saturday, September 10th, 9 to noon, they will dive deeper into the emotion and creative ways to release the past, to just release the past and stay relevant to today. So it'll be a morning of healing, and I think that will be very wonderful. It'll be a great day. All right, and then September 13th, Tuesdays, starting September 13th, 12:30 to 3:30, I'll be offering one of the most basic Science of Mind certificated classes. It's the foundations of Science of Mind. It's like you've been swimming around in Science of Mind, you kind of like it, and you want to know more. We're going to dive in the deep pool. We're going to dive into it. Who was there at the beginning? Who's there now? Where did all these philosophy ideas come from? And it's a fabulous class. The challenge is it's 10 weeks. That's long for a class, but when you're learning and you want to move forward in this in a new way, it's a great thing. And then Reverend Kay Stewart is going to do a Course of Miracles starting Thursday, September 15th, 1 to 2:30 in the afternoon. It's interesting because it's a self-study program. I said, do you have a syllabus? No. Do you have an order of reading? No. I went, oh dear. She said, no, Mary, that's the way it goes. You jump into where you want to be, and then you come to class, and everybody learns from everybody else. So I think, she said, let go of your illusion of how classes should be. Anyway, it'll be a lot of fun because she loves the Course in Miracles, and Kay is just a kick to hang around with. All right. We're going to have a reading that Reverend Kay brought. Oh, I remember that song. It's September, it's birthday day. And we're going to sing happy birthday to anybody who has a birthday in September. Just stand on up. All right. Excellent. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. All right. That little few notes came from way back in the back of my brain. It's like, happy birthday, yes. All right, well, it's one of those anything can happen days, isn't it? All right, Reverend Kat brought a reading, and it will be shared by Christy and Kristen. They'll do that next. And then we'll invite the bell 3 times, and then I'll come and do a spiritual mind treatment, which is our form of affirmative prayer. And then Reverend Kat will do a Sunday lesson called Good Work in a Hard World. That should be really great. All right, for the reading.
Good morning. My reading is from The Mirror of Intimacy by Alexandria, Cadem, Mikas, and Tom Burns. Every person possesses the potential for open-heartedness, for inclusion, understanding, and acceptance of another. The real art is to stretch into open-heartedness right when you feel most like isolating and shutting down. It's easy to close your heart, especially against a partner or a family member, and against all humankind at times. We call withholding love being cold, while we call open-heartedness being warm. And it's possible that the vital energy is in fact shared when you open your heart to another. But first, you must open your heart to yourself. Show yourself love even when, especially when, you fall short, because shame, regret, guilt, and anger can never open your heart. And it's the same with closed-heartedness. You might want to close your heart to protect yourself from intimidating or hostile forces. Yet closing your heart is one of the most hurtful acts you can do to yourself. Closing your heart as a form of self-protection is a contraindication. Your only true protection in any challenging situation is to open your heart so you can keep that vital energy flowing inside yourself and between yourself and the spirit of life.
From The Isaiah Effect by Greg Braden. Maharishi, the yogi founder of Transcendental Meditation, wrote, "All occurrences of violence, negativity, conflict, crisis, or problems in any society are just the expression of the growth of stress in collective consciousness. When the level of stress becomes sufficiently great, it bursts out into large-scale violence, war, and civil unrest, necessitating military action. The beauty of this field effect is that when stress relieved within a group, the effects are registered beyond the immediate group. Studies conducted in 24 U.S. cities in 1972 showed a statistically measurable reduction in crime when as few as 1%, 100 people for every 10,000 in population participated in some form of meditative practice. A similar study in Jerusalem in 1983 showed the same result. This became known as the Maharishi effect. These studies demonstrated a high correlation between the number of people in prayer and the quality of life in the immediate vicinity. 1/10 of 1% of humanity working together in a unified effort may shift the consciousness of the entire world."
There is only one infinite intelligence. Some call it God, some call it Father, some call it Abba. We're all one, created in the love of that intelligence. Every speck of the universe created by that incredible intelligence with a perfection that is really challenging to understand. But the more we do understand, we see the perfection behind everything and everyone, because each of us was created by that one. We are part of and encompassed in a humanity and world based in love. So while the world is being challenged for so many reasons today, one of the things we know we can help with is improving our communication with each other, to really be open to others' opinions and other ideas, to really be open to see that speck of God in everyone. So I celebrate that today by just bringing it up, knowing we can do this, we can do this. So I give great thanks for Reverend Kat bringing this little workshop to us to help us do that with ease and grace, knowing it will help us and everyone we meet as our day goes by and we travel and visit and participate in community in a way that opens hearts and brings more love into the world. So I release this as a warrior concern, because as we do this, we know how powerful it is. We say, thank you, God. And so it is. All right, Reverend Kat.
Good morning. So good to be with you. So in order to do good work in a hard world, we have to be able to center ourselves and find the place within ourselves where we're open to how Spirit is moving through us and guiding us. Now, you wouldn't think that you could read a book from the DMV and know how to drive. You wouldn't think that you could read a book on how to play golf and play golf. But we often think that we can just take in ideas, and just taking in ideas will be enough to shift our way of being internally and the way we are in the world, and it isn't enough. We have to have spiritual practices that actually shift our internal experience of ourselves and the way we interact with others in the world. There's just no other way. So coming together in community, joining in a service together, that's a practice in itself, and I want to celebrate all of us and all of you at home who are a part of that. But we also need more. We need particular practices that we can turn to when we need them most. And one of the precious practices that for thousands of years, particularly in Christianity and in Buddhism and in Hinduism, and really in Judaism too, has been chanting. So we're going to chant together this morning. And the chant is in your order of service, and I'd like you just to turn to that, and we're going to just go over the words, and I'll give you the meaning. The meaning is, where charity and love are found, God is present. So I'm going to read it once, and then we're going to recite it together so that you're not thinking about how do I pronounce this. And it's on a little slip of paper that Reverend Mary made this morning because she's techie and I'm not. Ubi caritas et amor, ubi caritas Deus ibi est. Where charity and love are found, God is present. And I've asked Christy to come up and Judy to come up and join me. And Dalton is going to play, and you're just going to fall into this, and we're going to sing it through 3 times. You can't get this wrong, and we'll sing it again towards the end of my time with you. So.
Ubi caritas et ubi caritas Deus ibi est. Ubi caritas et amor, ubi caritas Deus ibi est. Ubi caritas et amor, ubi caritas Deus ibi
It's when we're centered, when we have felt again that connection to the source energy of being, that we can afford to look at what's hard in our lives and our world. So I want to invite you, if hopefully that was just a moment of feeling that connection between yourself and all of being, just allow yourself to softly turn to what's hard in your life, in your own body perhaps, in the feeling life that arises, in your relationships with your nearest and dearest, in your expanded community, and in the knowledge of the world, the nation and the world beyond. You can find the places where your heart wants to tighten and close because it's hard to be with it and you don't know what to do. We tell ourselves if only stories. Some of us, depending on our temperament, focus our if-only stories more on ourselves. If only I had, if only I would, if only I could. I shoulda, coulda, woulda. Some of us focus our if-only stories outward. If he or she would've, if they didn't, if they would. And we all do both. But just notice in yourself if you tend to turn your if-only stories more inward or more outward to the world. And no judgment. Whatever you do, it's the same work. And sometimes we do one and sometimes the other. But all of us are challenged to be in the world in a way that contributes, that really offers good work, and all of us feel frustrated and stuck. So if you felt frustrated and stuck in the last week in how to do good work in the world, raise a hand. Yeah. Most of us sometime within a week, and how many within a day? I'm just going to say right now. And all of us can remember moments when we felt stuck, even if it didn't happen in the last day or in the last week, moments when we felt stuck. And I want to say me too. Clergy sometimes feel as though our job is to get up here and act as though we have our lives all together. But our job, as I take it, is to get up here and talk about the practices that allow us to come back again and again to living the best that we have to offer, because that's all any of us can do. And I'm just going to share with you that a few months ago in my life, it came to light that a beloved one in my family had fallen into addiction relapse, and that had been going on for quite a while. And the reverberations of that through my family have been very painful over the last 4 or 5 months, including with small children. And I can't fix it. And in this time, when I look back, I'm one of those people who turns more inward. If I could have. I can find things that I've done that I feel like, okay, that may have been a contribution. And things that I've done that I felt now, okay, that didn't work out the way I hoped. But rather than staying with that, I want us to learn how to release and move on. So I just want to invite you to be with whatever's hard in your life, whether it's personal or whether it's when you think at a global level, with so much compassion that you are always doing the best you can. And we're going to talk more about that. What we need is the spiritual practice of open-heartedness. We need that capacity to come back to a felt flow of energy within our own being and between ourselves and the world. And you know, sometimes I just love the spiritual practice. Most of you have been on airplanes, and you remember that moment when the steward says, adjust your own oxygen mask before assisting others. And we can all remember that. We need to adjust our own oxygen mask before assisting others. What interferes with our getting centered, with our coming into that place of self-connection with love, connection to the world with love and compassion to self, love and compassion to others, are our stories. We have stories about the way things should be and the way they should have been. And we use the stories to justify, and we use the stories to explain, and we use the stories to try to grab control when we're stuck in fear. But the stories actually create a loop where we repeat the story and then we go back into the emotion of fear or the emotion of anger or the emotion of guilt, and then we tell the story again, and it really should have been like this, it really should have, and if only I had, and if only they had, and now we're back in the emotional loop of the fear and the resentment and the anger and the bitterness again. And we keep trying to change the story in the past and see how we can control what's happening in the present so there'll be a different story. And that's going to let us down. If we can center ourselves with practices such as chanting, journaling, meditation and prayer, calling a friend, coming into community, These are some of the practices that can bring us back. And I just want to invite you now into a moment of holding with compassion. I'm just going to name some of the painful emotions that arise that are connected to our stories. And the stories and the feelings are always locked up together like this. So if we can release the story, the feeling will change. Just allow yourself to notice which of these comes up for you. You can close your eyes if you feel like it. Anger, resentment, bitterness, guilt, fear, shame, resignation, despair, mistrust, desperation. Just let yourself feel how much of the time in your daily life, in life as you live it, those emotions are like bubbling up from a volcano under the surface of your awareness and coming up to the surface, and then what you're doing is you're trying to push them back down. Well, what we want is ways to release them so that those bubbles can come up and they can pop and they can move into the air and something else can happen. So I want to say that our stories are based on beliefs about what's true that are never the whole story. Thich Nhat Hanh said that every bell is a moment to bring you back into awareness, so we will just appreciate that bell. Yeah. The whole story is the biggest possible story, the story that Reverend Mary was referring to, the story that we are held in love. So I want to tell you a story that is the truest thing that ever happened to me. And you might think that it would then guide every moment of my life, but that hasn't been so. Nonetheless, this happened. I was in the transition stage of giving birth to my second child, and I don't really know what happened, but I was in rage, and I was in fear, and I was in terror, and I wanted to throw myself off that table and just haul my huge, gigantic self out of the hospital. And I couldn't cooperate. And all of a sudden, I heard the nurse say, "I'm not getting a pulse on her." And that was me. And in an instant, I was out, except I was somewhere else. I was in a state of consciousness I had never known, in which I could see that every person in the room was surrounded by a golden aura of light. And in fact, it was as though every person's body was translucent. And what I could see was everyone is made of streaming particles of golden light. And I could see the baby inside me like this bundle of streaming particles of golden light. And my interior experience was unlike anything I've ever known. It was this experience of being flooded with unconditional love, like love I had never known in my life. It was totally personal. Every instant of my life was known and accepted with no judgment. And it was also totally impersonal because it was like rain. It was like for everyone. I hadn't earned it. I couldn't get rid of it. It was like gravity. It had nothing to do with anything I had done or not done. It just was. This love just was. And I thought to myself, oh, I'm dying. Okay. And I just felt this enormous safety beyond any safety I can describe. And I had no fear for the baby. I had no fear for myself. And the thought, maybe it would be more like an image, came to me of energy pouring through a kind of hourglass that was my body. And the thought came, I can cooperate with this or not, and one choice will be easier than another, but it's up to me. And somehow in that moment, I became able to cooperate, and I felt myself coming back into my body, and I was able to cooperate for my baby to be born. I have no idea if it lasted 5 seconds or 5 minutes, I really have no idea. But what I know is it's the most real thing that's ever happened to me. And we've all had the experience of awakening from a dream and saying, oh, that was so real, but this is reality. So this experience was like that, except that reality was the dream and the level of consciousness where I was the deep reality. I really thought, well, I didn't know what to make of it, and I didn't tell anyone about it for about 10 years because I just didn't know what to make of it. When I came back, I didn't want people to think I was crazy. But on some level, I thought, I'll never forget that, and it will always bring me back. But it turns out that although there's this enormous gift that happened to me, and when I was in seminary, I studied mystical experiences from around the world and around cultures because I really wanted to understand whether this was something unique that had happened to me, and not at all, not at all. All cultures, all historical periods, lots and lots of records of similar experiences. So then I understood that just something human had happened to me, something that wasn't distinctively about me at all. And in some sense, my life has been about coming back to that, attempting to come back to that, looking for practices to come back to that. And I would say that, 15 years later, it led me into seminary because I really wanted to become a person who could return. And I give you this story for whatever hope it may offer that there is a larger reality than the stories, and we can return to it. And when we return to it, we'll be centered, and in that moment, from the centered place, we'll know what to do next. This is why I've had many different taglines to my ministry of the Path of Joy, which is a ministry of spiritual guidance and workshops and occasional guest preaching. But the one that I have now I really love, which is coming into alignment before taking action. So if we can remember that if we can come into alignment first before taking action, the action we take will come from that place of love and compassion that will have the greatest possible impact for the world. And just our presence as a centered person will have impact. I loved it when I found in that book by Greg Braden, the same author that Reverend Sue's class is drawing on, that looks at actual studies that when there are groups of people meditating and praying and centering themselves individually and together, it has impact on the world around us. We really do live in a vibrational, energy-driven universe. We really do. And the vibrational energy that we put out matters. So what I want to offer you in this moment is a second spiritual practice that you can take with you. And I want to say, if you're interested in Ubi Caritas, go to YouTube and look up the Taize, T-A-I-Z-E community, which is a French contemplative community. I visited them in France last summer. It's like 90% chanting, and the Ubi Caritas that they chant there, which I had the opportunity to join in, that's the version you want to listen to if you want to find it. It will help us to understand that all human behavior is an attempt to meet universal human needs that we all have. All human behavior is an attempt to meet universal human needs. It's what we've got at the time that seems possible and that we can imagine doing. In the class that I'm going to start today, we're going to look deeply at what are our universal human needs. But I want to invite you right now to think about the behaviors that you find most painful in yourself, in others, in family members, in the world, and to recognize that there are universal human needs that you have too, that person is trying to meet. And just briefly, some of those needs include survival, safety and belonging, security, community, understanding, intimacy, freedom and autonomy, self-respect, excitement, fun and joy, self-expression, contribution, connection to the sacred, and meaning. So everything that people do is an attempt to meet those needs. And where conflicts arise is not at the level of needs, because we all have the same universal needs. It's at the level of strategies, the behaviors that we choose to try to meet our needs, and that's where we create harm to ourselves and others. So it's crucial to learn to separate needs and strategies so that we can challenge the strategies in ourselves and others, but from a place of compassionate connection to the underlying human needs. We can challenge strategies. We can even get angry and express anger cleanly in a way in which we are still connected to love for ourselves and others, still centered within ourselves. Most of us have had that experience like with a small child. You know, the child starts to run out into the street and you pull the child back and you say, "You may not do that. That is not safe for you. And I'm angry when you don't listen and you run into the street. And I can't let you do that. I'll have to pick you up and bring you back when that happens and put you in the yard until you can stop yourself." So there can be intensity and it can still be connected to love. So a practice that I want to offer you now is a breath prayer. Because a breath prayer, you can't chant anywhere, but you can always silently pray inside. Yeah, nobody can stop you. Nobody even has to know. So a breath prayer is a prayer that can be said just with the breath internally. You're not speaking it aloud. And the prayer that I want to offer you is breathing in, receiving light, breathing out, releasing all. Breathing in, receiving light, breathing out, releasing all. And I want to offer you a visualization because our minds want something, they want a lot to do, really. So the visualization I want to offer you, if this is something you're interested in, is on the in-breath, breathing in, receiving light. Imagine your energy body, the golden egg of your aura, the golden light body around you. It's real. And you can develop practices where you can feel it and experience it. And imagine your grounding cord going deep into the earth, connecting you to the energy of the earth. And imagine your spirit cord connecting you with the cosmos. So here's your golden egg. See yourself, close your eyes for a moment if you wish to, and just see yourself inside of your golden egg of light, your energy body of light. And on the in-breath, pull in energy. Visualize energy coming in both directions, from the grounding cord of the earth and energy coming in from the spirit cord of the cosmos, connecting you to the cosmos. And then in your out-breath, releasing. Breathing in, receiving light. Breathing out, releasing all. So it's good to take a moment to begin and end such practices. So I'm going to sound the bell, and for about 1 minute, we'll just breathe together. And then I'll sound the bell again. Breathing in, receiving light. Breathing out, releasing all with your own breath. When we come back into that centered, connected place, connected to ourselves, connected to the source energy of being, our hearts open to others and ourselves, we can remember that everything that any person has ever done is one of two things. Either it's an act of love or it's a cry for love. Those are the only possibilities. An act of love or a cry for love. No matter how heinous the behaviors, no matter the damage to ourselves and others, they are a cry for love. And if we can hold that in our hearts, we can find the strategies that are grounded in love, grounded in connection, and will still set the boundaries that we need to set, choose the actions that we feel confident can contribute, that we feel energetically can contribute, and accept that we are not in charge of the pace at which the universe unfolds. We're not in charge of that. So we can invite ourselves to remember that we are in essence beings of light, and to seek to come into alignment with Spirit flowing into us before taking action. Coming into alignment before taking action. And of course, sometimes that means offering our amends to ourselves and others. I'm sorry for that moment. When we remember that every action is an act of love or a cry for love, we reconnect with that capacity to open our hearts. And from there, we can untangle the relationship between strategies and needs so that we can challenge what needs to be challenged in a way that is likely to have the most effect. And we're still not in charge of anyone else's journey or the pace at which the spirit of life is moving through anyone else's life. But if we can model a way of being in the world that is centered in open-heartedness and in love, we'll have the greatest chance of making that difference that matters. And let's always remember that field effect. It takes incredibly few people to make a difference. The anthropologist Margaret Mead said, "Never doubt that a small group of committed people can change the world. In fact, nothing else ever has." So I want to invite you now as we close our time together to return to our chant, Ubi Caritas, so that you're leaving here with at least 2 new practices today that you can use in the moments when you become mindfully aware, I need to center myself. So I want to invite Christy and Judy again, and Dalton, and all of you. So once again, we'll sing through 3 times. I think we'll do it 5 times. Let's be really wild.
Ubi caritas et amor. Ubi caritas Deus mihi est.
And may we leave opening to the spirit of life, source energy of being, creating, sustaining, transforming power in all, Holy One. We open, seeking to come into alignment with the source energy of being before taking action. Opening to give our best and to accept the path as it is given, as it is shown, that we may walk in love, in strength, in faith, in power, with all that we are and all that we are coming to be. May we go shining. May it be so.
There at the table, with my head in my hands, a column of numbers I just did not understand. You said add these together, carry the two. Now you can do this hard thing. You can do this hard thing. It's not easy, I know, but I believe that it's so. You can do this hard thing. At a cold winter station, breathing into our glow, it would change me forever, leaving for God knows what. You carried my bags, you said I'll wait for you. You can do this hard thing. You can do this hard thing. It's not easy, I know, but I believe that it's so. You can do this hard thing. Late at night I called, and you answered the phone. The worst it had happened, and I did not want to be alone. You quietly listened, you said we'll see this through. You can do this hard thing. You can do this hard thing. It's not easy, I know, but I believe that it's so. You can do this hard thing. Here we stand breathless and pressed in hard times, hearts hung like laundry on backyard clotheslines. Impossible just takes a little more time. From the mighty ground comes a green volunteer. In a place we thought barren, new life appeared. Morning will come whistling some comforting tune for you. You can do this hard thing. You can do this hard thing. It's not easy, I know, but I believe that it's so. You can do this hard thing. It's not easy, I know, but I believe that it's so. You can do this hard thing.
take my papers? I've only been doing this for 30 years, I mean. But you know, it's the music. I'm just sitting there. What do I say now? Okay, offering. Oh, there we are. If the ushers would come forward, please. Thank you. Isn't it interesting when you've been doing something for decades and it seems new every time? It's very interesting. By the way, I think Christy and I, and probably Shirley, will be available to do prayer work after service with you. We'll be up here by the bell. Just come up and see us. All right, so as we prepare to give our offering, our hearts are filled with love and appreciation, since what's offered here is for my spiritual well-being. I'm filled with gratitude, knowing that life stays in balance, for we know the truth is, as we give, we receive.
I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed.
I give thanks for the blessed donations received in the offering this morning and during the week. I know each dollar supports this spiritual family in so many ways as we grow together, pray together, and give thanks for all that this center has been blessed with today and always. And so it is. All right, Dalton will sing us out. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate him. I don't know if you've heard, bless his heart, he found us a new choir manager, someone to, yeah.
Yes. Soon you will all meet, if you haven't already, Gwendolyn Rooker, who is taking over as the music director, choir director here at CSLR. I hope you enjoy her work and her as a person, because she's lovely.
He was sharing that she wasn't interested. No, not interested. Well, maybe a little interested. Well, really, a really good group of people and getting paid to do what you love, I think I'll take that. So anyway, it's so wonderful.
There's always, trepidation as well as enthusiasm. And finally, her enthusiasm overcame her trepidation, and she decided to.
That's so. Thank you, Dalton. Thank you. All right.
So let's encourage any enthusiasm you have to overcome your trepidation. It's a sunny day outside. Why don't you stand on up? If you don't know this one, you'll pick it up pretty soon. All good, holy, holy. All good, holy, holy. me know all is good. Holy, holy. That's how it goes. All good, holy, holy. All good, holy, holy. All in my mind, in my heart, in my soul. Let me know all is good. Holy, holy. All God now. All God, holy, holy. All God, holy, holy. All in my mind, in my heart, in my soul. Let me know all is God, holy, holy. That means all is love now, all love, holy, holy. All love, holy, holy. All in my mind, in my heart, in my soul. Let me know all is love, holy, holy. And that's why all is one now, all one, holy, holy. All one, holy, holy. All in my mind, in my heart, in my soul. Let me know all is one, holy, holy. All good, one more time. All good, let me hear you sing it loud now. All good, holy, holy. I said all in my mind, in my heart, in my soul. Let me know all is good, holy, holy. I said all in my mind, in my heart, in my soul.